Welcome back to Truth Talks. We have a return guest today, Marcia Weekes from Barbados, and she is absolutely my newest best friend. Marcia, thank you so much for joining us last week. And now we're going to talk about a little bit of what's needed to move forward in Barbados in the sense of recapturing truth and integrity and making sure that our children are protected, your children are protected from a very radical ideology. So that's kind of where we start today. Welcome, Marcia, and that's a lot to think about. So just whatever's going through your mind, I'm sure you're going, oh my goodness.
I'm so glad that you're asking that question, because we would have you just been there and you did a whole lot of education, and that is one of the first things that we start to focus on, because I don't think that we fully understand the big picture and what is going on. And so education is one of the first pillars, very, very important. And as I said, we did that in the recovery wall. What we want to do at this time is to continue that education in Barbados. We need to go to everywhere where anybody who can listen to hear what is happening. And so with those recordings, we are sending them on social media to everyone who would listen, because again, education. We're also making those recordings available to the church. And these are recordings that would talk about the trauma associated with the LGBTQ lifestyle. We are talking about the history of the sexual rights revolution. We're talking about the transgender, the state of where we are in terms of this transgender identity crisis, what's happening with it, and everything to do with that we covered at the Recover All symposium, which addressed gender, sexual identity, and family. And so we are educated. Another thing that we're encouraging everyone to do in Barbados is to write their member of parliament. And this has to do with two bills. Well, the Constitution, which is right now in 2024, this is in focus at the moment, because this is what they are trying to pass. So if Barbadians are listening, or if you're in the diaspora, we have a lot of Barbadians living in Canada. Write Barbados. I'm going to appeal to those living outside of Barbados. Write the Prime Minister. Write the members of Parliament, and let them know what your thoughts are. Search online for the Child Protection Bill. It's there online at the Parliament website, and you'll be able to see exactly what they're proposing to do in terms of removing parental rights. And
Yes, exactly.
And basically, the government coming in and doing what they want to do with our children. As it relates to the Constitution, begin to write the MPs again and ask them for definitions of the different terms that are in the Constitution. These new terms that are being introduced: gender, sexual orientation, all these different terminologies that are being put into the Constitution. And the statement now that the Constitution is now gender neutral. All of these things that we're wondering, where is this coming from? Begin to ask our members of Parliament, what does this mean for us regular citizens? What is this going to have? For the churches need to ask, how does this affect my teaching in my church and teachings that are based on the Bible as people of faith? Other persons of faith in the Rastafari faith, in the, those who are Hindu, those who are Baha'i, and all different types of faith. How does that affect your faith? And because we can't wait until it's too late. So, it's writing in the newspaper. Ask the questions, ask them, and writing your members of Parliament. protests. One of the things that we're planning to do as near terms, it's 2024, we're going to hit the streets again, because that is important as well, where we make a public display of, the fact that we are not in favor of what is happening, and we have concerns. We have concerns, and we want our concerns addressed as it relates to sex, sexual identity, gender, and the family. All of that foundation, we believe that in Barbados at the moment, with this progressive government and a progressive prime minister, that all of that is being erased. And so we are very, very concerned. So we are tackling it from different angles. We'll continue with our productions, because one of the things Dr. Ira came to me, I'm always getting these ideas. It's your book. I thought to myself, we're going to read our book, to read your book, Whatever Happened to Emily. We're going to read that to the children within our school. That's about 20-something within our cast, okay? Yeah. What if we were to get some kind of help, sponsorship, to do a recording of that, a story, to read it in story form with all of the sound effects, and put it on the radio?
Wow.
You see how I get myself in trouble? But put it on the radio. We could start with start with Christian radio, and get this going throughout the region. Start in Barbados, and let's put whatever happened to Emily. Let's do it, and do it. Where we're doing it in I forgot the terminology now, but in pieces, in segments. Okay, and so we have, we do it. It's a book, so we can do it in pieces and put it on the radio. Why am I doing this? Because I want trouble? No, it's about educating. It's about our children getting the message. It's finding whatever means that we can find to get the message out. And radio broadcasts, we listen to radio broadcasts here in Barbados on Focus on the Family, where they do stories. They present these story hours, And so awesome. I would love to see your book on the radio as a radio drama. That's the term I was looking for, a radio drama. And our children would voice it and put it on the radio, and let that play. Let it play and go into the households of people within Barbados, in Jamaica. Jamaica will do it. I know Philippa will take it, will do it. They will do it in Jamaica. And so the idea is to whatever that we have that is legal, and however we can put the message out, let's be creative with it and get that message out, because we've got to reach this generation.
Well, and that's so important. So you really have touched my heart very deeply, because I'm like you, Marcia. We have very kindred spirits. We try and stay out of trouble, but God keeps leading us into these places. And one of the reasons that I write, the only reason I write, is to educate parents, but then children, right? And so that just is an amazing idea. I think it's excellent, because it addresses the whole issue. Here we have, and I think this is where what you're facing politically in the child's rights bills, that is very ominous. It all sounds sweet, and the language is very encapsulated to make it sound like this is a really good thing. The child protection bill, everyone wants to protect their children. But not only do you have to read between the lines, but you have to read so carefully of what they're actually trying to do, because what they're trying to do is rob parental rights. They are trying to silence parents in areas where parents would actually stand up for their children and say, no, this is not right. And if parents are to do that, it sounds almost like the government is ready and willing to remove those children from their parents. And that means the state becomes the parents. And that's very much the progression in Canada that we are very, very afraid of. So you're a few years behind us, but now with your prime minister, is it a prime minister? Yeah. Um, that
Yes.
she is really moving forward in all of this, and that's a very dangerous place to be for Barbados and the Caribbean.
Yes, it is, and it's a full support of the LGBTQ agenda. And one of the things I've learned in Poland is to separate the agenda from the people. And so
Yes.
we are not anti people at all. We love people. But when that agenda is going to now, you're pushing it, it means that you are now encroaching on our faith. You're
Yes.
encroaching on our children, the rearing of our children. And I think that that is where the issue is for a lot of us, because obviously, there were people since before I was born within the region who were LGBTQ,
Sure.
in their persuasion, and they've lived here. In fact, there's a whole street in Barbados where guys who sell their bodies, and people pass there and they know that that's where it happens. And so I think that it causes us to stop to ask what is behind all of this.
Exactly.
Why now, and why is it going so quickly, and why are we feel like we're being dragged along, as you noted, as you said in the previous podcast, where the people are not prepared for that. We are primarily people of faith, and so we've grown up knowing that we love people, but we don't have to participate in your lifestyle and in your choices. We're intelligent people. We understand that. But now it's a whole change is seeking to just sweep over Barbados. And so we're asking if you're listening to pray for Barbados, because we have this prime minister that the world seems to love, because she is right now they're thinking the thought is that she's been shortlisted. We've seen it in the press as being the next UN General Secretary. But
Wow.
this is what's happening in our country, where we feel that we're being dragged to pick up this kind of agenda, which is a political agenda.
Exactly. And I would say it's a spiritual agenda, because
Yes.
what I've been saying for the last couple of years is that within Canada, that the LGBTQ activists have created a new religion for Canadians, and that this is the new religion, this ideology. And if we don't sacrifice on that idol, then we are canceled. We are nullified. It's like you don't have an opinion. Parents are vilified in the eyes of their children, and there's this whole sense where children are pitted against their parents and the deconstruction of family. So we don't want that to happen in Barbados, because Barbados is very much family centered, and the people are you're loving and kind. It's not about not being loving and kind. It's about protecting your children from a dangerous ideology that really seeks to divide uh, them from their parents and from a right understanding of sexuality. So I want to finish with a few comments. How can people get involved? How can they help you, Marcia?
Well, my website will be on this on the screen, and where they can write to us, and and be part of the fight. I want to say that those who, if you're listening to me and you are a reporter, for example, you write, you're an influencer, social media influencer. We find that because the prime minister also has an international following, that it would be also of benefit if we can begin to raise some of these issues from outside of Barbados. So if you're watching and you're an influencer from whichever country, Poland, Hungary, wherever in the world this broadcast goes, to Canada, the US, and you can help us on social media, because let me tell you, the world thinks that she's doing this great job with in Barbados, and so we want the world to know what's happening to us in little Barbados, 280,000 people, and this tidal wave here of this cultural, um, I don't even know what to call it, but it's coming in on us in here, and it is being backed by a lot of funding from, for example, the IDB
Yes.
bank, which by the way, paid for a survey given to our children without our parents' consent. Over 280 something questions, Dr. Ann. Questions were given to our children without parental consent. And some of these questions were asking what what gender do they feel comfortable with, and all kinds of different things. Asking about, little children, they were 11-year-olds.
This is not
how often do
acceptable.
you have sex? And no, and the parents didn't even know about the survey, didn't know that it was happening. But because they'd given money to the Ministry of Education, the IDB, International Development Bank, we're getting money from the UN and the IMF and all these different people. Now we've signed on to the Samoa Agreement, and all of that money is connected to all of that. And so we feel as though our leader is selling the souls of our children, for money, that we're getting money and we're passing. There's an exchange that is happening, and so if you're listening, you can pray for sure, because we're living here on this cloud that is coming in, and a lot of uncertainty for 2024 for us, because of those bills that are now going to be, according to them, going to be passed. And can you imagine what it is going to be like for us? It's like taking all of what's happening in Canada and just taking it and dropping it in Barbados, 280,000 people. It has a feeling as though they are trying to create a prototype for the rest of the Caribbean. So if you're Caribbean, it matters to you what happens in Barbados. So use the social media, contact us. Like a program like Dr. Ann's that we want to do for Dr. Ann will cost, and we don't have a whole lot to do it. But I want to do that radio program. I believe it will be very powerful, very, very powerful. And once it's finished, Dr. Ann, it's something that can go to throughout the region, because it's already completed, it's packaged, and we can take it all over. But contact us, please, and use social media, and just whatever resources that you have that you can share with us. It might be a book you read, a website, if you're missing, whatever you can do to help us, we appreciate it.
And I want to suggest to parents in the Barbados, get involved in your public education system. You have still a bit of a window of opportunity, because this will come in like a flood. And so you've got to raise up a standard very quickly, I believe. And so parents, get involved and be proactive. I don't know about your school boards there, but I would encourage good, solid Christian parents to get involved. Just right thinking parents about biology who are concerned for their children and what they're seeing, and then get involved in the government, because, in order to change things, you really have to change it from a grassroots level all the way up to the very highest level. So we encourage people to really get involved and talk to you, Marcia. And thank you again so much for joining me. I'll be putting your website and your Facebook information on this site so people have it. And we'll be back to talk again probably in 2024 sometime. And thank you so much for the opportunity to come and speak and to share in Barbados and to get to know you better, but also the people there. What lovely people, and what a lovely country. So God bless you, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's again my pleasure, and for giving us here in Barbados the opportunity to have a voice outside of Barbados. I thank you so much, Dr. Anne, and for what you've deposited here in Barbados. And you've got to come back.
Well, I kind of like the sun.
You got to go to Oystins. Nice. You got to go to Oystins and get all of that fish.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. I ate a lot of fish while I was there. It was great. All right. Well, God bless you, and we will definitely be talking again.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, everyone, for listening to our show today. I hope you enjoyed my special guest from Barbados, Marcia Weekes. She's a wonderful lady, and she has a great vision for the children of Barbados. Also, please check out her contact information and my books and my website at restoringthemosaic.ca. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.
You've been listening to Truth Talks with Dr. Ann. Thank you so much for joining us today. You can find Ann's books, blog, and sign up for the newsletter by going to restoringthemosaic.ca.